Hello. Let's get right to the news. What is happening in our country, in many of the big cities around the country. There's a man named George Floyd who was he was in custody with the police department, and while he was in their care, one police officer had his knee on his throat area, neck. Pretty hard. He put a lot of force into it. The man, George Floyd, begged to let him breathe, and he couldn't. And unfortunately, George Floyd died while being in custody with the police. They have one person. This took place in Minneapolis. The one officer that had his knee on his neck has already been arrested and indicted, and he's charged with third-degree murder. The other three, it's questionable. There are a total of 4 police officers. The other 3 are questionable whether they'll be indicted as well. I would think they would be, because they didn't stop the co-worker and tell him to get his knee off the man's throat. One person did say that the officer said to Mr. Floyd that, oh, if you're talking, then you could breathe. That's not the case in this situation. He was already hypoxic, low oxygen level in his body, and he passed out. And they didn't show any remorse. They didn't really care about it. But the ambulance came, and Mr. Floyd died at the hospital officially. So, we're in day 6 of the protests. I believe that there is not believe, but I want to explain something to you. The people have been protesting non-violently. They're walking down the street protesting. They have no weapons, no sticks. They don't fight back. Maybe there's a few people, a numerous number of people who instigate it and aggravate the police officers. And the police officers has feelings too, and they retaliate. So police officers have some emotions as well. The police were dispersing the crowd. Don't disperse the crowd. If they're protesting accordingly, non-violent, let them protest. You find people looting, let them loot. Let them take whatever they want from the stores. I do not want the police to get injured, trying to stop them from taking items out of these businesses. And I don't want the protesters to get injured. Remember, whatever's in that store they're taking can be replaced. And the government will give them money to help the business owner rebuild his business. No more. So far, not many people have been injured. Police officers have been injured, but it's minor. The protesters do not want to have any kind of conflict with the police. Tonight, there are a row of police officers, state police in Minneapolis, in a park, and they were in one line, and I'd say about 40 feet away, about 50, 60 feet away, was a line of the protesters, and they were facing off, face to face. Now what I want you to do at this time, someone take control, use one of the megaphones, and start talking. All people, just talk. Protesters, talk nice to the police officers. Calm the police officers down. Calm everybody down, and say, we're not here to go against the police officers. We're going against the authority for creating a situation where the white male police officer tends to be a little bit more aggressive in protecting people's property. They're peaceful. They're not doing any harm. And let them protest. And this line, 2 lines, what you would say is, we just want to be treated better. We follow the rules and regulations to the T, and you put more regulations. The police officers are the ones who take the law and and take the law and enforce the law. If you ever notice, the police officers can't make decisions on their own. They have to be told what to do. Beware of that, people. Their mind is not right. There's something wrong with their mind. They're brainwashed. And I spoke about this in the past. They're only doing what they're told to do. Talk to the police officers, kind of work with them, let them see you as an individual with emotions and feelings. Express them nicely without any swear words. Just talk calmly to the police and say we're on the same, let's join together and be on the same side to stop white supremacy amongst the police officers. Enough is enough. There are too many times there are black male who have died in the custody of the police. I've seen it many times on TV, and no charges were ever pressed against the police officers. This is the farthest we've gone with this feeling of supremacy, with oppression. We want to be heard, and the white people want to be heard. Go ahead, American white people, join in with the American black people and show your dislike of how you too are being mistreated by the police officers, because the police officers also do bad things to the American white people, but we just don't, it's not advertised and it's not told. Here, the police officer, he put his knee on Mr. Floyd's neck. What about the woman, police officer, who was in an apartment in the dark and shot a man, thought he was an intruder in her home, and she was confused. But it was her neighbor, and she shot and killed her neighbor, not knowingly, and it was in the dark. She was immediately charged, immediately sent to prison. And the judge said, it was crying, I don't want to send you to jail, it was an accident, but I have to. And this woman, we were so quick to convict this woman and send her to jail. Now finally, the white male police officer is under arrest for third-degree murder. He didn't get away with it this time. People, white, black Americans, we are all Americans. All of us, white people and black people, suffer from oppression, suppression. We're oppressed, and we're abide. We listen, and the more we listen to the rules, we are forced down. We are reduced to lower level beings. The black people are very caring people. They have been suppressed far too long. There was a woman who told me there was a building, and they're having a meeting, and in that meeting there are pictures of lynches of black people, and the white people put those pictures up to keep the black people in line and to show we are superior. And then the government was giving money to that group of people who did that, showed lynchings at their meeting. I think the government or the community should not fund an event that has racism in it. We are human beings. We have souls. We have the light of the Holy Spirit in us. That's what connects us to each other. That's what connects each other. The human soul, it has feelings, emotions, and we want to heal our souls. We want to be more happier, be active, be positive. We don't want any more laws telling us what we can or cannot do. We are a country of freedom. No more bullying by the police. No more hitting the people with your pipe or your sticks, showing force. There was a man who got out of his car. He was on the side, on the street, getting out of his car. He was with the protesters, and he brought out a bow and arrow and pointing at different people. Well, the protesters all attacked him, took away the bow and arrow. I'm sorry to say, they did assault this man. They did hit him to seduce him, to bring him down, under control. They overturned his car and started on fire. These are non-violent, supposedly protesters. They are going against their own selves to make sure there is peace, a calm protest without any violence. And they just showed the protesters making sure where they are, that they are safe, and that no one will do physical force against the police or anybody else. They have shown us they are peaceful. Now in the line, when I was describing one whole line of police officers and then one whole line with the protesters, talk to each other. Let the police see you as a human being, because they don't see you as a human. They see someone, a being, a black person who's doing negative things and fighting with the police. Please stand aside. Let them loot. The government will give them money to redo their business, to have money to make their business even better than what it was before. This is the consequences of suppression. They act, when they get a little freedom, they go far with it, and they want things that they've been deprived of having. American white people join them. I noticed there was a Minneapolis sheriff was walking with the protesters, doing high fives with them, because we have restrictions. We don't want any more restrictions. We don't want any more laws. We want our freedom. We want peace. We want to be safe in our country. And not just be sitting there and an officer comes up, picks him up, puts your handcuffs on him, and you're in police custody, then you die. Finally, the American black people. And I don't blame the American black people for calling themselves African American black people. I understand that, because you don't totally want to be associated with the Americans. But I hope after things start improving, equality happens between the white and black Americans and the police officers. Police officers, don't get in harm's way. Let them express themselves. They're standing right in front of you. Talk. Create a discussion. It's our government. We're having difficulties with our government because all these soldiers, all these officers know is to hold up the law according to our government. It's not the police officers. They're just doing what they're told to do. Protesters are just showing that we had enough of this suppression. What about the oil tanker that was on the highway, and he was about to drive through? He was a white male American, who was about ready to drive through the protesters who were on the highway. They jumped on the truck and made him stop driving to prevent anyone from getting hurt. The police pulled him out of the vehicle and took him into custody. Do you see? The protesters are not violent. They're only protecting and defending themselves and keeping each other safe. This is America. And you know, the other thing they showed in Europe, in England, they were protesting on our behalf. They see us protesting about oppression. Well, people of England, they too were protesting, and they were protesting very safely, non-violent. Let the protest continue. This is a good thing for America. This is a way to bring American people forward, not afraid to go outside and take a walk where you might be stopped and arrested. What about the young man who just recently was shot by maybe three white males, and he was just jogging? They saw a black man. They just assumed he was up to no good, and they ended up in a fight, and they shot him. He was just going out it was in Georgia. He was just going out for a jog. He was not prepared to die. He did absolutely nothing. The only wrong thing he did, which is no fault of his, is his color is black. It's time for the white male to wake up. Come out of your trance. It's called a conscious trance. Come out of it. Work your way out of it, so that you could think on your own. And you could think on your own what is right and what is wrong. That's what you have to do. Don't attack the protesters, please. They're only showing that they've had enough of oppression. And to the police officers, join in with the protesters, because one of your own people may shoot you. For example, in New York City, the police are chasing a black man in a darkened area, and one of the officers was a black off-duty. Well, he was running in front of the police officers. They shot him in the back thinking he was their perpetrator. And he was just a police officer just like they, because he was black, running away from them, supposedly, which he was actually running after the perpetrator. They shot this man dead. So it happens amongst each other. Wake up, soldiers. Wake up, officers. It's time to create rules and regulations that are not oppressive. These people have feelings and emotions. Let them show the world enough is enough. We want to live in comfort. We want to be happy. We want to be respected. And that's the case, that's the case for everybody. That's the case for everybody living in America. We want respect. We want to be looked up to. We do not have any violence done to us when it is not have to be that way. Because if you're listening to the police officer and you do what he tells you, and you still end up in the custody and you die, there's a problem. Enough is enough. And this police officer and the other three should be charged for assistant murder. They could have pulled their co-worker off Mr. Floyd's neck, but they didn't. People, the officers, police officers, they don't think on their own. They don't think on their own. They only could do what they're told to do. That's what we call conscious trance. When you're in line, just stand there and talk to the police officers lovingly and caringly, and let them know it'll only be a matter of time that the white male police officers are going to turn on their own people, their own officers and police officers. So do what you can to calm the situation down, keep it peaceful, express yourself to the police, let the police become aware how you feel and what's going on, and I'm sure the police officers will put their guards down and relax and settle down. And maybe in that situation, the American black people, the American white people, with the police officers can unite. And that's the start of changing our democracy to maybe socialism. Something where us people are not suppressed, and that we can receive the items we need to live, so that none of us lives in poverty. Wake up, police officers. Don't attack the protesters, otherwise they will go violent. Just let them express themselves. The sheriff walk amongst the protesters, and the protesters like that. Follow his lead, and we will make America the greatest country that it ever could be. Let's unite and do what's right. Be good, stay good. Live with love, love to live. Blessings to all. Amen. Thank you.